We have new Jimmy Butler updates, this time tying him to the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm here to break down all of the new information that we have on this subject on this episode of Heat Digest. But first, before we get to the information, remember, if you're a part of the 85.5% currently watching this video, not currently subscribed to the channel, and you want to stay up to date on everything Miami Heat in the middle of this trade season, scroll down, click the subscribe button. We do appreciate all the love and support, so thank you guys so very much for everything. But now let's get to it and break down the updates involving Jimmy Butler and the chances of him landing in Memphis. Now, we've had this conversation on this channel before in the past, now during the regular season. But obviously, in the middle of those conversations, they were shut down rapidly after Jimmy Butler and his representation told Memphis, as well as other teams, do not try to trade for Jimmy Butler because you will receive exactly what Miami is currently getting: a disgruntled all-star who does not want to be a part of your organization. Now, we learned that from Chris Haynes, who will now cite, as we all know and remember this, when Chris Haynes went on his hashtag Haynes Brief, where he discusses really all of the happenings in the NBA world that he has some insight on, where he says, sources, a few teams have been informed not to trade for Miami Heat star Jimmy Butler. Now, this was back on January 7th, right in the middle and right at the beginning, if you will, when Jimmy Butler in the actual trade conversations and him departing from this Miami Heat team really started to skyrocket. Now, Memphis at that time seemed very willing and able to go out there and make a trade proposal for this disgruntled all-star in Jimmy Butler to the Miami Heat. And obviously, it seemed very promising, as Memphis has a lot of very good and promising young talent that they could possibly package in order to get Jimmy Butler. But that is when we learned of this. And Bernard Lee, if you will, Jimmy Butler's representative, his agent, came out and apparently contacted these organizations and basically told them, I wouldn't do that if I were you, because you're going to get exactly what the Miami Heat are currently getting in the sense of character and the overall want to be there from Jimmy Butler. Now, in today's news from February 2nd, which was yesterday, Fred Katz posted this link to the article saying, what's the latest with Jimmy Butler? With the Suns, with the Bucks, with the Grizzlies, with the Warriors, story with at Sam Amick, as well as Eric Nahim on each team's status right now. And we are solely going to focus on the Memphis Grizzlies in this episode. Now, in the last episode of Heat Digest, we discussed the Warriors and all the updates involving Jimmy Butler and the possibilities of him landing in Golden State before the February 6th trade deadline at 3 p.m. Eastern Time when it does expire. Now, if you click on the link, it takes you to the article, which we are now going to cite, as it goes on to say, the Grizzlies, for example, have held exploratory talks with Miami about Butler, but those interactions haven't gone far. According to league sources, the Heat asked about Memphis's young players, which the Grizzlies rebuffed. Now, it goes on to say, Memphis hasn't made an official offer for Butler and is hesitant to part with any of its promising youth or draft picks of consequence. League sources said a hypothetical Butler package would include matching salaries and not much more. The Grizzlies could hardly turn the Heat back into a juggernaut, but they could help Miami accomplish one of its goals in a Butler negotiation: opening up cap room in 2026. So again, alluding to the talent that the Memphis Grizzlies do have, that seems to be of the young variety, of the very promising and potential-wise young variety. And again, it doesn't seem like they are going to be very willing and really going to be very open to trading that young and promising talent to Miami in exchange for a very, very disgruntled all-star in Jimmy Butler, who would definitely help this team and really any team that is able to go out and acquire him. But again, if Jimmy Butler is acquired by any team outside of Phoenix, it seems like they are getting exactly what Miami is currently dealing with, and that is a disgruntled all-star who simply doesn't want to be there for any reason, and at any time. He doesn't want to be involved with the team shoot-arounds. He doesn't want to be involved in practice, games, flights, travel, anything. It seems like Jimmy Butler is flat out done with any team that is not named the Phoenix Suns. So again, yet Memphis supposed package, which would include a mix of Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, Brandon Clark, Jake Lavaria, and John Kennard. Sorry, I'm saying that so wrong. I apologize. Exist only on the trade machine. So again, these hypotheticals involving these young pieces have not actually been offered to the Miami Heat yet, or at least we could assume yet. by the Memphis Grizzlies. And if you do see trade packages and trade ideas on the internet, social media, whatever it may be, they are hypothetical and they are alleged. And again, there are people just using trade machines on ESPN and other sources that allow you to really work through these things and be able to find a possible trade scenario that we could see later down the line on a professional level. Now, this article would conclude by saying but the Grizzlies haven't yet placed a concrete offer in front of Miami yet. It's possible they never do. So again, just circling this all around. The Memphis Grizzlies have not offered a offered a trade package to this Miami Heat team as of today, February 3rd. But again, whether they do or not is to be determined. We are yet to see whether or not they will, due to Jimmy Butler and his character, and really whether or not they're going to play the game of whether or not Jimmy Butler is going to, if acquired by this team in Memphis, is going to opt in. And when I say that, I do not mean into the contract and coming into his player option year next season. I mean in the idea of whether or not he's going to be willing to play basketball and participate in basketball activities for this organization, like he is currently not doing in Miami. It's a very, very scary scenario for teams that are not Phoenix right now to try to go out and acquire this disgruntled all-star in Jimmy Butler, due to obviously the upside that he could have if he decided he wanted to play and participate with your organization. But as of now, it doesn't seem like that is a possibility, again, for anyone outside of Phoenix. Now, again, to circle back around, this is a huge piece of this information. I know it's from almost a full month ago, back on January 7th. But again, it is now February 3rd. The trade deadline is less than 3 full days away. And again, this seems like a very, very, very substantial piece to all of the puzzle. And when I say that, I mean whether it's Memphis, Golden State, Dallas, Houston, name the team that is, as long as the name is not Phoenix, it feels like this quote from Chris Haynes is going to be substantial. And the reason being is because Bernard Lee, Jimmy Butler, and the rest of the representation surrounding that party is making sure that no one wants to go out and take a chance on Jimmy Butler because of the character and the overall just mentality and motive behind Butler and his camp in order to get to Phoenix and really forcing his way out of Miami. Again, I've been saying this for some time now. If and when Jimmy Butler is traded from this Miami Heat team, if it does happen before the February 6th trade deadline, it is going to take 3-4 teams in a trade involved in a trade, to get this trade done. And it's simply because of the inabilities and the flat out just doing of Jimmy Butler, whether that be the good or the bad. It's going to come down to what Jimmy Butler is really doing here. Yes, he's probably going to end up in Phoenix, but it's going to take a lot of moving parts in order to do so. And we could see teams like Memphis, as well as others like Dallas, Golden State, looking to really reload involved in those 3 to 4 team trades, which, mind you, after witnessing what we have witnessed over the last few days involving the Spurs and De'Aaron Fox, obviously Luka going to LA, Anthony Davis going to Dallas, I would not rule out anything, because right now things are just flying off left and right. And it's honestly a joy to watch. Unfortunately, Miami has not done anything yet. But again, do not rule them out. And we still have 3 days, 2.5 days, if you will, 2.25, whatever you want to call it, to make some moves. And I'm not going to rule them out yet. I think it's still very much a possibility that Jimmy Butler is moved, regardless of the team that he does land in. But again, teams are taking a chance if their name is not Phoenix, if they do trade for the disgruntled all-star in Jimmy Butler. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one with more updates involving Jimmy Butler and this Miami Heat team as the trade deadline approaches.